voicemail box of Lieutenant Jared Kinsman with Fort Collins Police Professional Standards Unit. I'm either on the phone or away from my desk. If you please leave me a message, I'll get back to you as soon as possible.
Record your message at the tone. When you are finished, hang up or press pound for more options.
Hey, Lieutenant Kinsman. It's me, William Montgomery. 970-825-4421 or 970-412-5463. I got your letter dated July 17th, 2017. And I obviously have a couple of follow-up questions. It says here that, I just want to start off with this one. So, you 4 paragraphs down, you started saying, furthermore, I want to point out that the nature of your complaints are generally the same. You have repeatedly challenged Fort Collins Police Service's officer decisions to charge you with criminal trespass, later to have the charge dismissed in court because of a technical issue regarding the legal boundaries of certain properties. You have repeatedly asserted dismissal of these tickets somehow verifies an element of wrongdoing on the officer's part, warranting an internal affairs investigation, and a sustained Fort Collins Police Service's policy violation. I'm sure you recall typing that. It's right here in front of me. I'm sure you have a copy over there. So, Mr. Kinsman, I was wondering if you could tell me specifically what that technical issue is that the charge was dropped over. Because you say here, later to have the charge dismissed in court because of a technical issue regarding the legal boundaries of certain properties. The reason why I want to ask you about this technical issue that you are claiming that the court dropped it over, I'd like to know where you found that technical issue, because the case isn't dropped yet, man. It's still active. So, I literally had to start off on this note. So, yeah, man, I think you got some problems, and I think we already had this conversation with this exact issue previously, like when I got you on the phone. Do you recall me saying that it wasn't dropped, and then you kind of being sort of skeptical? You're like, "Are you sure, William? Is that still going?" And you asked multiple times, and I had confirmed multiple times, and it literally looked like you were in like some sort of denial. And the reason why we're thinking is it's pretty easy to guess, and that is that there was some sort of gossip that had gone around in the police department about me lawsuit scamming, and that I keep getting all these cases that keep getting dropped, and then obviously I'm using the excuse that they're dropped as to why I feel like they're scamming. Something like that, right? Yeah, you kind of fell into that same boat. And so I don't know how else to say this, man, but like, you gotta stop believing that case is dropped. But I mean, technically speaking, you're still kind of the reasonable officer. You obviously know that it would be dropped or should be dropped because of the public nature of that land. And so, a couple things here. Obviously, I think you failed at your job, literally, at a level 0. Think about that. You have repeatedly challenged Fort Collins Police Service's officer decision to charge you with criminal trespass, later to have the charge dismissed in court because of a technical issue regarding the legal boundaries of certain properties. How on earth do you come up with that information, man? Seriously. It literally looks like you didn't open up my file at all. I'm trying not to be pissed here, but seriously, man. So, now that you're here, now that you know that the charge isn't dropped, yes, it's still going. I called the DA up the other day. Still active. Maybe you can go ahead and let the DA know just what you thought in here in my letter. Go let the DA know that there's a technicality regarding the legal boundaries so that you guys can go arrest yourselves.
Come on, Kinsman.
Come on, Kinsman!
I'm a witness to all this.
What's really funny is we have audio of David Case also talking about it. He was like, yeah, remember that one case you had about trespassing? Yeah. Well, all the cops were talking about it, and they discovered it was public during that time, and then when it dropped, and we had to inform him, too, that it wasn't dropped. So somehow I became a legend, and I got these cases that keep not dropping or dropping, and so basically what I'm trying to let you know, Kinsman, is that you're probably going to be fired over this. I'm serious, man. minimum level of
You
investigation.
are approaching the maximum length for a recording. Finish your recording after the tone.
You failed to do a minimum level of investigation, period. Literally, step 0. You're like, your facts are not straight, man. So, sorry.
You have reached the maximum length for a recording. To send this message, press pound or hang up.
You've reached the voicemail box of Lieutenant Jared Kinsman with Fort Collins Police Professional Standards Unit. I'm either on the phone or away from my desk. If you please leave me a message, I'll get back to you as soon as possible.
Record your message at the tone. When you are finished, hang up or press pound for more options.
Hey, Kinsman, it's me, William again. I made this into 2 for 2 voicemail because I definitely need to address this other part real quick here. So, your issue here that you said was already investigated by Horton, and that, you know, Jackie Pearson sent me a memo about it. This was the my issues with Giddings during the Occupy Jefferson protest. First off, you got a date wrong there. You said September 9th, but you did reference the right case number. But you still totally, like, missed all the points ever, period. And so let me just go over all the variables with you real quick here. 1, there is a lease for the Jefferson Park, or at the time that it was active. It was from the railroad company. You can go to the lease department to get it. That was the old police station over on near the what do you call that? Town hall. Okay, so this lease does not go curb to curb because it respects right-of-way boundaries. And if you need right-of-way boundaries, you can go look at the plat for the city. Also, you can look up the definition of 1742 and so forth. And so my contention is Giddings went to a parks department and got some sort of maintenance map. If you go to the parks department and talk to them, they don't offer that map anymore. They, Bud, actually, when I drilled down, and I have the audio for that, I can get you, I drilled him down, and he's like, no, that's not even, I thought that was public right there. Hold on, there's vehicles. So, it's really easy. You can go do your investigation now, and obviously go talk to Bud, and he's going to say that that was not intended to be a official source for boundaries. They never claimed that they were official source for boundaries, by the way. That's Giddings making it up. That's a lie. And then if you need, you can also talk to Jill Wirtz in that department. She's the one who actually produced that map. She said it was a trash map, and I have that audio too. So it's a trash pickup map. So the whole point is that you guys tried to use this to pick David and I up off of, and, you know, in my unlawful conduct trial, I lost because the burden of proof was shifted to me, and I didn't, you know, bring Bud with me or anything. But David, he did an A-OK job in municipal court. And you want to know why I was struck down? It wasn't struck down with anything to do with the map. It was struck down because he literally brought somebody in without designation. As in, there was no pictures of any signs of anything, really. There were the only element of park curfew municipal code is that the area is posted and designated as a park. And that's what we were showing, is that there wasn't any actual evidence because you didn't fulfill that element. You just kind of got this strange map over there and just thought you could start using it. And this map didn't have any legend, by the way. It contradicted right-of-way law, contradicted the lease. And so let's just go over a couple things. He said in the streets that he talked to the city attorney and confirmed that these were the official source boundaries and that was the official map. Lies. Obviously, in court, he actually told the truth. He said that he did not speak to the city attorney. However, in court, he did still say that those were the official source of boundaries of the Parks Department and that was the official map of Jefferson Park, the red and blue map. And then the kicker here, I'm not kidding you, man, you still missed the point, is that he lied in court and he said there were 2 leases. I drilled him down because I knew that there was a green area that was outside the red area in that map. Red area naturally is going to indicate the railroad company property, which naturally indicates that, you know, a lease for Jefferson Park. But he had to, in order to not look bad in front of the jury, had to racketeer his brain out and basically admit, thinking that, you know, he's just telling the truth, that there must be 2 leases or something. He just said that there was 2 leases. I said, hey man, is there a second lease then for this area? And he's like, yes. So That's a lie, man. That's called a fabrication. That's in this case, attempting to influence, because he wanted to win his trial. If you go to the actual lease department, you can see the lease. Or if you wait a couple more days, I'm going to have that whole case up on YouTube. But hey, let's just go over this real quick. The concept here. Down here, you said, what you may not understand is that police officers only need to have probable cause to issue a citation. The Colorado and U.S. Supreme Courts have repeatedly explained that probable cause for an arrest or issuance of a citation for an offense exists when the information known to the officer at the time is sufficient to cause a reasonably cautious and prudent police officer to believe that a crime has been committed and that the person arrested or cited probably committed it. So let's go over those real quick. Let's see here. When the information known to the officer at the time, what information? He went to a parks department and got a map. He didn't ask Bud for any clarification if it was the official source or not. Bud definitely said otherwise. So, and then of course, is sufficient to cause a reasonably cautious and prudent person.
The maximum length for a recording. Finish your recording after the tone.
Is sufficient to cause a reasonably cautious and prudent police officer to believe. A reasonably cautious, prudent police officer would see that legend was not there, that the map did not have a legend, and also a reasonable officer would know right-of-way law naturally to not, screw himself. So.
You've reached the maximum length for a recording. To send this message, press pound or hang up. To mark it urgent, 1.
You've reached the voicemail box of Lieutenant Jared Kinsman with Fort Collins Police Professional Standards Unit. I'm either on the phone or away from my desk. If you please leave me a message, I'll get back to you as soon as possible.
Record your message at the tone. When you are finished, hang up or press pound for more options.
Hey Kinsman, it's me, William again. I can't stand these short voicemails. Man, I just had to get this last piece of information out. Okay, so you say here, that obviously the inability of a prosecutor to prove a case at trial beyond a reasonable doubt does not necessarily mean that the officer who wrote the citation did not have probable cause to do so. Yeah, that's not my argument. My argument is that there wasn't any evidence in court that was presented, like with David, for instance. They showed some map. That's hearsay. And so there wasn't actually any evidence of the element of designated or posted. And so therefore, naturally, that's going to be not enough proof to convict, but that also wasn't enough proof to charge. And so if you haven't gotten this before, let me just spell it out for you, man. The boundaries of Jefferson Park are available via that lease. That right-of-way of Linden Street goes 100 feet, property line to property line. You can go online to just your City Docs website. Your patrol vehicle map. That sidewalk that is opposite of the Mission, Linden Street sidewalk right there, that butts up, against the Jefferson Park on the southeast side, that's public land. And my brother was ticketed for being in a park allegedly in that area. And he got found not guilty because he wasn't in the park, because it wasn't designated, and so forth. So it's really obvious. He was told that he was in a park and that he needs a ticket for it. And that wasn't the park. And therefore, he's not guilty. There's no room for probable cause in there because there's no body anymore. It's kind of like, we found out that there wasn't any body in the first place. There wasn't any actual evidence of him being in a park whatsoever. So naturally, that's how a ticket is supposed to work. To an extent. I mean, you're not supposed to ticket him in the first place, but if you ticket him with literally nothing, then naturally they're probably going to get found not guilty in court. But David got found not guilty of being in Jefferson Park because he wasn't, and he was on that sidewalk. The next day, that same night, I got a similar ticket. I got I'm in a park ticket, just like him. Now, naturally, I was on the receiving end of a unlawful conduct ticket by that point. I got you've repeatedly been in this park ticket. But I got found guilty of that unlawful conduct ticket because the elements of designated and posted were not talked about. I actually tried to bring them up in that court, and they wouldn't let me. They literally wouldn't let me bring up and insert the elements of the underlying municipal code park curfew charge in my unlawful conduct. that was the whole point of the unlawful conduct charge, right? Repetitive municipal code park violations. So you tell me, Dave and I are both on that sidewalk. We're both given the same gist of a ticket of being in a park. We're both offered the same information of a map. David gets found not guilty. He's not in a park. I got found guilty. I got found guilty of being in a park that I'm not actually in. Or ever were. Was. Period. It's a sidewalk. So, wrap that around your mind for a while. I have been found guilty of being in a park without actually being in a park. Meaning, whatever evidence or whatever was presented in court was definitely not evidence of actually being in a park. Because, like I said, you can go look at that lease now, and you can see that I wasn't in an actual park. And so, am I supposed to be convicted? Am I supposed to have a something on my record now to show that I was in a park when I actually wasn't in a park? Do I have to go around to all my applications for jobs now and like attach a lease of that park to show that the cops didn't know what they were doing that night? Or am I allowed to just show you that lease or reference it? Or I showed the DA right after, during my sentencing of that unlawful conduct. I gave Deschaines, the DA, a copy of that lease. He was literally supposed to exonerate me right there.
You are approaching the maximum length for a recording. Finish your recording after the tone.
So the point is when you guys lynch people, you get lucky occasionally with David, and they fight, and they get found not guilty. But then you occasionally get unlucky, and you actually go forth and actually convict somebody of being in a place that they're not. And that's a lynch. And that's why I'm suing the living daylights out of you.
Recording. To send this message, press pound or hang up. To mark it urgent, 1. Your message has been sent.